go out and say it. It's no secret that diversity is a hot topic right now, and companies are finding ways to be more inclusive. Why would they do that? Because customers want them to. They want to feel represented, and they want to feel valued. Once they feel this value, they'll stay with that company, and the company gets its loyal customer base and therefore consistent growing sales. Research from Facebook found that stereotypes alienate gamers and can encourage bullying. These experiences make gamers more likely to feel excluded and in turn less likely to engage. To make people feel included and comfortable and position itself for long-term success, the gaming industry must meaningfully address representation and inclusion across several areas, including the games themselves, the industry composition, and how games are marketed. Customers are craving more authenticity and genuine connections. Not only is this important for connecting to brands, but also fostering positive communities. But I'll explain that probably like another video, maybe. In general, research by Kantar found that 75% of consumers globally say that diversity, inclusion, or a lack thereof influence their purchase decisions. If that didn't show the importance of diversity in the industry's marketing, then let me be more specific. In 2020, Xbox wanted to emphasize the importance of joy, inspiration, and social connection with their campaign Xbox Beyond Generations. Xbox wanted to remove the gap between generations, more specifically building connections between younger and older people to combat loneliness. They were aware of the problem worldwide and worked with Age UK to create a short documentary film. They would show support for older people without alienating their younger audience. It showed that Xbox were inclusive not only by showing these people in the campaign, but emphasizing the importance of personal relationships between the different ages and families. If you're not using your console anymore, give it to an older family member and play a game with them. There may not have been any direct advertising for a specific game or console, but there were positive results. Reported conversations lasted 45 minutes longer, 15,000 program kits for the campaign were downloaded, and there was little to no negative sentiment about the campaign. Inclusivity has become more than appealing to an audience. It is an obligation in strengthening your brand. It seems like a win-win for everyone, right? But that's when diversity is done right. What a game company intends to present their brand as may be diverse, inclusive products, but is that really the impact it gives? In marketing, you have to think about what you are offering. What is your brand trying to say? Sometimes your intention doesn't always align with the impact. Here's an example. In 2016, video game company Blizzard Entertainment created a game called Overwatch. To take the Steam definition, it's a critically acclaimed, team-based shooter game set in an optimistic future with an evolving roster of heroes. This roster of heroes is what I'll focus on. As of September 2024, there are 41 different characters representing a variety of cultures, languages, races, genders, and sexualities. So, why do I bring this up? It's about this intention versus impact. Overwatch directors emphasize the importance of creating games that are inclusive, and Blizzard Entertainment say representation matters, a diverse employee population matters, inclusion matters. So what's the main message of the brand and product they want to push? Inclusivity and representation matters. They want to build that environment within their community. That is their intention, the image they want to create. But the impact? How do customers know whether Blizzard are just saying these things to get people to play their games? Do we know? It's not irregular to think many companies use diversity as a form of marketing. During Pride Month, how many businesses do you see mention LGBTQ+ communities and never mention them after June? Consistency is key, the intention is important. But is Blizzard actually creating a diverse, inclusive brand, or are they just perpetuating stereotypes through Overwatch? Their intention may be good, but is the impact actually positive? To answer this, I found a YouTube video by Overwatch creator Saltyfish titled, "Does Overwatch stereotype the nationalities in their game?" In this video, members of Saltyfish's audience, hailing from different countries around the world, spoke from their experiences, saying whether or not the characters in the game actually represented them. While some have good elements of culture that may not be commonly known,
all of Echo's rare skins are named after, like, somewhat significant cultural things in Singapore.
Actually, I don't think that there's really any crazy stereotypes here. Both Ana and Farah's, like, eye tattoos are, like, ancient Egyptian mythology.
Other others still leave something to be desired.
Voice, what do we think of Sombra?
I think it falls too much into the sassy Latina stereotype.
Off. I feel like the Mythic doesn't really show out the harmful spirit that it's claimed to be.
And others take what they can get.
She's very happy for a British person.
You think it's kind of unrealistic how happy Tracer is for a stereotypical British person?
I never
100%.
met someone that positive.
Too cheery.
What would your French-blooded people think of Widowmaker if they first saw her in the game?
What is wrong with her? Why is she purple?
What?
So even though the brand portrays itself as diverse, are they actually just contributing to a problem of stereotyping by not being representative enough? Blizzard shouldn't force diversity or take shortcuts for the sake of appearing inclusive. Marketing begins from understanding the product and the way it could be perceived. It's about understanding the audience and how they feel about you and your product. In the future of marketing, we should aim to be more diverse but be consistent with our messaging, showing that it matters and showing that we care. It's all about that brand authenticity that I mentioned before. And brand authenticity builds positive customer relationships, distinguishing one brand from another. It's important for companies to be diverse in their marketing and their games. It's good if we have positive intention and impact. It brings benefits to businesses and customers alike. But I believe there is an exclusive issue within the industry that directly reflects this need for diversity. Within communities, brands should take some responsibility for the stereotypes they create and the audiences they alienate. As companies use targeting as a part of their marketing strategies, this becomes more prominent. So it's important for a company's product to reflect their messaging in order to avoid the enabling of these ideologies, more specifically, the enabling of alienation and toxic behavior. This is considerable in this industry, most notably around women in gaming. The stereotypical idea of a gamer is usually seen as a man, especially in an industry where often games have been made by men for men. The first female protagonist came back in the 1980s in games such as Wabbit and Miss Pac-Man. The former is a farming simulator, a genre of games that appear to be where the majority of the female audience lies. In fact, the likelihood of female gamers play casual story-based games. So what's the problem of targeting these games to their main potential audience? Well, it's not really an issue. It's important to focus your marketing on one audience so that you can better understand them and better communicate with them. But it's important to show that your brand is inclusive. Research from Brighter in 2023 showed that 72% out of the 1,500 women surveyed that had faced some form of toxicity in gaming, including verbal abuse and sexual harassment. On one hand, there is an emphasis on the need for moderation, especially online, but on the other it shows the stigma that has been created over time. Just for going into an online voice chat, girls can face sexism. Games like Call of Duty, which are primarily targeted towards men, are notable for toxic environments, both in and outside the game. It's the normalization of these behaviors within communities that have created a stigma over time. In fact, I have my own experiences of feeling like I didn't fit around the typically male games. Back in primary school, I remember all the cool kids, mostly boys, talking about Call of Duty and FIFA on the Xbox, while I was over in the corner thinking about Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games for the Nintendo Wii. It's not that I thought I couldn't play those games. I mean, I don't know, I was a child, but it was more the thought that I wasn't as great as anyone else, or I wouldn't be accepted because I didn't like the cool games. You could argue that it's my own experience that has made that perception, but who's to say it's not common? All it's showing is that this era of targeting has excluded certain communities from feeling like a game is for them. This is a problem, but the question is, should brands actually be responsible for addressing these social issues in the future? It's not that one marketing campaign can change millions of perceptions. It's about showing your audience that you are inclusive, that people are welcome in your community. You can target your game to a segmented audience, that's how businesses succeed. But with anything, that shouldn't mean that everyone else cannot buy and therefore play the game too. There are lots of examples of brands showing their inclusivity. Twitch and Ubisoft have launched campaigns to promote female gamers and streamers. Riot Games organized women-only tournaments to encourage participation and showcase talent. Nintendo created a campaign featuring female characters and role models from their games, emphasizing diversity and representation. There are a lot more too, mostly to show their support for these communities, but being careful not to isolate them as the groups that need the support. But again, do brands actually have to bring light to these issues? People management found that over half, so 53% of Gen Z and millennials expect companies to take a stronger stance on social issues. There are always going to be people that want businesses to care about what they care about. I think the main focus here is to find what works best for your business. Are you taking action and being consistent with your message, such as donating to charities, reaching out to communities, etc.? Then you'll attract people who appreciate your stance. If you're pandering for the sake of appearing diverse, then you'll lose people to brands who are taking action. If you do and say nothing, then it's a question of to whether your audience actually wants you to. You might earn the benefits that come with it, but that isn't actually a requirement. Not technically. Maybe ethically and morally there is a stance you should take, as in not contributing to stereotypes and being respectful to people's differences, such as showing support during Pride Month. That can improve your brand image. It's whether you want to continue that support that will make the difference in perception. I believe that to an extent, yes, brands should address social issues, but that is if they mean what they say and take some action. Inclusive marketing is beneficial, but brands aren't obligated to take a stance. It's a question though of whether companies are just doing these things to make their customers happy, but again, that depends on a particular audience. Like my example earlier, Overwatch player base might care because that is the image they've been presented with. In the future, it's about your intention and your impact. What do you want customers to see and think about your brand? Because the likelihood is, someone will see through it. Everyone should feel included and valued by the people they are giving their money to, even more so in a game they love. At the end of the day, what do your customers care about? What do you care about?